بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. Our companion for tonight is Ja'far ibn Abi Taalib radiyallahu anhu arda. Ja'far, he is Ja'far ibn Abd al-Muttalib ibn Hashim ibn Abd Manaf ibn Qusay. His kunya is Abu Abdullah, and also he's been nicknamed Dhul Janahayn and Abu al-Masakin. Dhul Janahayn, the one with the two wings, and Abu al-Masakin, the one who looks after the indigents and the poor. He is from the predecessors to Islam, and he is the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib and older than him by 10 years. He embraced Islam the 25th, or they said maybe the 31st. So 25 people or 30 people or 31 people had embraced Islam before him. Prophet ﷺ made brotherhood between him and Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Abu Hurairah used to call him the best of the people after the Prophet ﷺ. And in Sahih al-Bukhari, Ja'far was the best of the people to the poor. Abu Hurairah also testifies to this fact. He says, Kana Ja'far used to love the poor and used to sit with them and serve them, and they used to serve him. The Prophet ﷺ, as I said, called him Abu al-Masakin. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he married to Asma bint Umays. And Asma bint Umays, she had given him 3 sons. After Ja'far was killed, she happens to be the wife of Abu Bakr, then the wife of Ali. So she had been a wife for 3 companions. The wife of Ja'far after he was killed, the wife of Abu Bakr after he died, Abu Bakr. She was the wife of Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. Asma bint Umays, she is a sister of al-Fadl, and she's a sister of Maymuna. So she is a sister of al-Fadl, which is, we call her the Lubab al-Kubra. And also she is a sister of Maymuna, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was the sister of Lubab al-Sughra, the wife of Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu anhu. And Asma, as I said, she brought from Ja'far the following sons: Abdullah, Muhammad, and Awn. As her children from Abu Bakr is Muhammad. So she was the mother of 2 Muhammads. Muhammad from Abu Bakr and Muhammad from Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. And Asma, she is the one, she washed Fatimah radiallahu anha. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu also, he had put in his will that she to wash him, because she was his wife. So if he dies before her, then she is to wash him. And also Fatima radiallahu anha wa ardaha, she asked for Asma to wash her if she dies before her. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu wa ardaha, he migrated to Habasha, and Najashi and the followers of Najashi, they have embraced Islam because of him. Stayed Ja'far with him, and rather some of the companions. He left from Habasha to Medina, and he came where the Prophet ﷺ was in Khaybar. So when he migrated to Medina, the Prophet of Allah is already driving the Jews out of their land from Khaybar, Ma'rakatu Khaybar. We know that he had, as we're going to talk about the narration, the story, that he had been killed in the land of Mu'tah. And the land of Mu'tah is from the land of Bilad al-Sham. It's in the southern part of Jordan. He was mujahid to the Romans, and he died in the year 8 after Hijrah in Jumada al-Ula. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, verily I have seen Ja'far flying with the angels. So he was an angel flying with the angels. That's why he called Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. In the Battle of Mu'tah, radiallahu anhu wardah, he was on a horse which was ashqar. Ashqar means blonde. So a blonde horse. And when he stepped down because he couldn't really mount the horse, he killed the horse. And he was the first one to make aqr. Aqr means to kill the animal, if that animal will be maybe in the usage of the enemies. There's no harm for the person to kill the enemy's horse, but he's talking about his own horse. So this is what he has done in the battle, and he was the first one to do that. And the scholars have differed regarding the issue, is it permissible for us to kill the animal because for the sake of the enemies will not use the animal? We see that Imam Malik rahimahullah made it permissible. And as for Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, he said that if the Muslims had taken the animals and they couldn't really carry it with them, then they should slaughter it and they should burn its meat. And Awza'i and Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, all of them, they disliked that act. They made it forbidden to kill the animal unless it is the animal of the enemy himself, but not your own animal. And Shafi'i, he had used the hadith which is unauthentic. That is the hadith, he who kills a bird or any animal above the bird, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would ask him, why did you kill him? What is the manfa, the benefit that you killed him for? So you kill the animal only to eat. You don't kill the animal because you're afraid that the enemies will use it. That is the opinion of Imam Shafi'i. But the stronger opinion we say is that you can see is the opinion of the scholars who had said that it is permissible. Because if this hadith is authentic, and it is authentic, authenticated by Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, that he is the first one to make the aqr. He had done that in the Ghazwat al-Mu'tah. So if he had done that in the presence of number of companions, those companions who are, you could call them princes. Prince, that means as they are princes as in very senior companions, like Abdullah ibn Rawah and Khalid ibn Walid. All of those whom the Prophet ﷺ praised. So if it is the case, then, and also the Prophet ﷺ, he would have had revelation to tell him that he had killed the animal which he was on top of it. He would have forbidden him from doing so, but he did not do so. That makes it permissible. So if you believe that that animal is going to be used by the enemy and it strengthens their side, then you're supposed to kill it and no problem, inshallah. Abdullah ibn Umar used to pass by Abdullah ibn Ja'far and used to say, Salamu alayk, peace be upon you, the one with the two wings. So all of that is about Ja'far radiallahu anhu wardah. And now we come to the details of some of those issues which I've mentioned. First of all, the Prophet ﷺ's looks is similar to Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. And that is why Ja'far, Prophet ﷺ, he said, verily you have made, or you are similar to me in my figures and also in my manners. And if it is the case, then he is similar to the Prophet of Allah in the verse which is وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Verily, O Prophet, you are upon high character. So Ja'far, he almost reached that. Now, there's a story that happened between Asma bint Umays and Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. And this story to tell us that as well Ja'far, he was from the predecessors to Islam. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Qais, he says that we've heard that the Prophet of Allah, he left and he migrated to Medina. We were in Yemen. So we left and we migrated, me and some brothers, who is my younger brother, and I am the youngest amongst them. In 52 or 53 men, we rowed the ship. We went on top of the ship, and that ship took us all the way to Al-Najashi in Al-Habasha. There we have seen the companions, amongst them Ja'far ibn Abi Taalib radiallahu anhu, and we stayed with them. And then all of us came to the Prophet of Allah when he was opening or conquering Khaybar. And some of the people used to say to us, that means the people of the ship, that we have preceded you with the hijrah. That means the ones who made the hijrah from Mecca to Medina, they're telling the ones who had missed that hijrah because they were in Habasha, we have preceded you with the hijrah. Asma bint Umais, as we have described who she was, she came to Hafsa, the daughter of Umar, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, to pay her a visit. And she was from the ones who had migrated to Al-Najashi. That means she missed as well the migration of the Prophet of Allah and the companions from Mecca to Medina. So she was in Al-Habasha. So Umar Khattab, as soon as he entered upon his daughter Hafsa, and Asma was there, so Umar, he said, as soon as he saw Asma, who is she? His daughter said, Asma bint Umais. Umar, he said, oh, the Abyssinian. Verily, the one who had sailed in the ship. Verily, Asma, she said, yes. Umar, he said, oh, we preceded you with the hijrah. We have more priority to the Prophet ﷺ than yourselves. So she was enraged. She said, no, by Allah. You were the Prophet of Allah. He used to feed the one who is hungry amongst you and admonish the one who is ignorant amongst you. And we were in a land, the land of strangers, the land where it is not homeland, the land where there is enmity, the land where there is as well hatred, the land of Al-Habasha, and all of that in the sake of Allah and for the sake of the Prophet ﷺ. By Allah, I will not eat nor I drink until I mention this to the Prophet of Allah. That means you have said, we have preceded you with the hijrah. Well, verily we used to be harmed in the sake of Allah. So I will mention that to the Prophet of Allah and I'll ask him. And I will not lie, and I will not add or subtract. So when the Prophet ﷺ came, she said, Messenger of Allah, Umar is saying so and so and so, meaning that, we have preceded you with the hijrah and you have missed the hijrah. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, what did you say to her? So she told him what she said. He said, yes, true. He has no priority of you than you yourselves. Him and his companion, they have one migration, one hijrah. But you, the people of the Safina, the people who sailed in the ship, you have two hijrah. So amongst those is Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. So those who have missed the hijrah, they have two hijrah, even though they missed the hijrah from Mecca to Medina. So Asma, she said, verily I have seen Abu Musa and the people who sailed in the ship, they used to come to me asking me about this hadith when I mentioned it to the Prophet of Allah. And verily there is nothing in this dunya, which is more joyful to them, to us and them, and more great in their souls. They regard it to be the great thing in their souls and themselves than what the Prophet of Allah had said, that they have two hijrah. So this they reckon to be is the best. So they used to come to her to remind them of what the Prophet ﷺ used to say. You've got two hijrah. Well, they've got one hijrah. We said that he used to love the masakeen. He used to love the ones who are indigent. He used to serve them, they used to serve him. Abu Hurairah is the one who told us about that. He said, verily the people used to say, Abu Hurairah, he has narrated a lot of hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. But verily, the reason is that I was sticking to the Prophet of Allah. And I don't really look for satisfying myself from the food. So I only eat, small things. I am as well dress myself with modest things. And nobody's serving me and nobody's serving me. So I was actually catching up with the Prophet ﷺ despite my hunger. And I used to come to the man to ask him to recite for me a verse and teach me. Not because I wanted to teach me, but because I was hungry. So he could just look and see that I'm hungry, and he will take me home to feed me. So the best of the people to the poor, he says Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. He used to take us, means him and the people of Ahl Sufa, to his house, and he used to feed us. And he used to bring us the ghee, the ghee which is the fat. And also, we used to bring us even the packet where the ghee was in it, and we used to tear it off and lick what is remaining in it. That's how hungry they were. And also, he used to cut it for them, and he used to show that how he used to love the poor people. So, if you give, for example, something to a poor person, you see him that he's hungry and eating, and he's eating, you see him that he wants to eat even the box itself. You might think, oh, look, this person got no manners. But no, Ja'far al-Talib, he loved that. So he would even help them to do that because he's so close to the poor people. Abu Hurairah, he says nobody had taken the shoe or mounted a mount or he had followed anything after the Prophet ﷺ better than Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. That means in his generosity. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that he will die as a shaheed. How? And it was a live link-up between the Prophet of Allah and what happened in the battle of Mu'tah. Let's just talk about it. Abu Qatada is our narrator. He says the Prophet ﷺ, he sent an army to meet the Romans. And he said, your commander is Zayd ibn Haritha. If he was killed, then Zayd. If he was killed, then Ja'far. If he was killed, then Abdullah ibn Rawaha. So they left. And the Prophet ﷺ, after they left, and they have stayed and they passed and they met the enemies, Prophet of Allah ascends the pulpit, and then he commanded for the prayer to be called Salatu Jamia. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, that is good news. Shall I inform you of an army? This is the army which is the invader. For verily they have left and they have met the enemy. Zayd was killed and he is a shaheed. Seek forgiveness for him. Then Ja'far took the standard, the bearer, the flag. And this is what we are trying to say. And the people had also, the enemies followed him and killed him. And he was a shaheed. And I testify that he is a martyr, shaheed. So seek forgiveness for him. Then the standard was taken by Abdullah ibn Rawaha. And also he had affirmed his foot into the battle until he died. And he is a shaheed, so seek forgiveness for him. Then the standard was taken by Khalid. And he was not a person who was being appointed, but a person whom the companions had chosen to lead them. Then the Prophet ﷺ lifted up his finger saying, O Lord, he is a sword from your swords. O Lord, give him victory. So from that moment, Khalid was called and nicknamed Sayfullah, sword of Allah. And then he said, go ahead and help your brothers, and let not anybody to be left behind except that he would help. So here the Prophet ﷺ, he had told that Ja'far ibn Abi Talib is a shaheed. Now, when the news that he was a shaheed reached the Prophet of Allah, he was in tears, the Prophet ﷺ, to show you that he was so close to the Messenger of Allah. Anas ibn Malik, he narrates the hadith, he says, when Zayd took the flag, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Zayd took the flag and he was killed. Then Ja'far took the flag and he was killed. Then Abdullah ibn Rawaha, he was killed, and the Prophet ﷺ's eyes was shedding tears. Prophet ﷺ's eyes were overflowed with tears. Then أخذها Khalid Walid, and this is how the Prophet ﷺ describes the battle. And this is from the miracle of the Messenger of Allah. When the Prophet ﷺ told the companions about their martyrdoms and they were killed, he ﷺ paid a visit to the family of Ja'far. Abdullah, the son of Ja'far, he says, when Ja'far's news came that he was killed, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, make food to the family of Ja'far, for verily they were struck by something that preoccupied them. Asma, was his wife, to Umays, she said when Ja'far, her husband, was killed and martyred in the battle of Mu'tah, the Prophet ﷺ, he came back to ask the family, and he said, verily, the family of Ja'far have been busy or preoccupied by the family, by the death of their man, which is Ja'far, so make food for him. Also Abdullah ibn Ja'far, he says that the Prophet ﷺ, he gave the family of Ja'far 3 days. That is, he will come to them. Then after that, when he came to them after 3 days, he said, don't cry upon my brother after this day. Then he said, call the sons of Ja'far. He called them Ibn Akhi, or Ibn Akhi. Call the sons of Ja'far. So he said, Abdullah, we were brought, and we were very small. So the Prophet of Allah said, call the Baba. So he called the Baba. So he had shaved our head. Then he said, as for Muhammad, who was the son of Ja'far, remember Asma, she gave birth to Muhammad from Ja'far, and Muhammad to Abu Bakr. That's why she was called the mother of the 2 Muhammads, Muhammadain. As for Muhammad, for he is verily looks like our uncle Abu Talib, and that is the grandfather of his, because Abu Talib is the father of Ja'far. As for Abdullah, for he is looking like me, and also he is close to my manners. Then he took hold of my hand, and the one who's saying that is Abdullah, when he was a kid. So he took hold of his hand, that's the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, "O Lord, give Ja'far in his lineage barakah. Give Ja'far in his lineage, in his ancestors and offsprings, barakah. And also give barakah to Abdullah in his right possession, in right hand." He said it 3 times. Our mother, Asma, she came and she started to say, there are orphans at the moment, should be looked after. The Prophet said, are you scared, are you afraid from poverty? For verily, I am their companion, I am their protector, I am their wali in this dunya and the hereafter. Also from the very fascinating story that took place is the incident with the Najashi, which we have discussed in our biography of the Prophet ﷺ, but there's no harm to discuss it again. That is Al-Najashi, the one who is the king of Al-Habasha, and his name is Asham. And Najashi is a title. Every king who leads Habasha is called Al-Najashi. This one in particular is called Asham, who would embrace Islam. Him and some people around him as well. The narrator for us is Salama radiallahu anha. She said, when we landed after sailing the ship in the land of Al-Habasha, we stayed with the best of neighbors, and Najashi. He had given us safety and security regarding our religion. We worshipped Allah. Nobody can harm us. No, we don't hear anything that would displease us. When the people of Quraysh knew about this, they decided to send a delegate to Al-Najashi in order to bring us back. So they sent 2 men, Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah. And these two, they took with them Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah, sorry. Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah. The two, they took some gifts, it's like a bribe, to Al-Najashi. And they were asked to give it to those who are the close commanders of Al-Najashi, in order, if they talk to the Najashi, those people will come to help and would support their request as well. So these two, when they came to Najashi, well, she said, we are in the best of land, the best of neighbors. Then a single commander of the commanders of Najashi was on the path of these two, except that these two would give them a gift before they talked to the Najashi. And they said to every commander, for verily some group of people, they sought shelter in your land, They came to this king, to the land which belongs to the king, Al-Najashi. Those are people who have no common sense. They left the religion of their people, and they did not enter in your religion. They came with a bid'ah religion. This religion, we don't know it, nor you yourself know it. And the people of ours, they sent to the king, the noble people in our tribe, they sent to the king the delegates which was asked to negotiate with him in order to bring him back. So when we talk to the Najashi, you would come along and support what we say. So they came to a Najashi, they gave him the gift, and most of the gifts were skin of animals. He likes the skin. Oh, Majesty, for verily, a group of people from our land came to your land. They are people who have no common sense. They have left the religion of their people. They did not enter in your religion. They came with a religion which is a bid'ah, innovation. You don't know it, we don't know it. And the noble people amongst our people, they have sent us to send them back, for verily they know them better and they know what they have done wrong. So Salama, she said, there was never anything more hated to a Najashi that is to hear to hear the words of Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah and Amr ibn As. So he disliked what they have said. But the commanders, they said, we believe, Majesty, we believe them, and we believe that their people, they know about their wrongs and their shortcomings, and we would say and suggest that you hand them back. And Najashi, he was so annoyed. He said, no, by Allah, I will not hand them in. People who chose me and chose my protection, chose my land, and chose me above any other king, I will not hand them in until I call them and I will ask them about this matter. If it is the case, then I will hand them. Otherwise, I will never hand them. And I will be good to them. So he sent for the companions of the Prophet of Allah. And when the messenger of the king came to the companions, they started to confer with one another, saying, what should we say to the king? So some of them, they said, we should say what we learned and what the Prophet of Allah had commanded us to say. Whoever he is, we have to say the haqq. So when they came to him, and Najashi, he called his bishops, and those bishops, they had put their scrolls in front of them, and then he asked them, what is this religion that you have left your people with, and you did not enter in my religion, nor you entered in the religion of any one of the nations, or any nations. So the one who spoke was Ja'far, because they have said Ja'far will speak on our behalf. He said, O king, verily we were people from the people of Jahiliyyah, ignorant, worshipping idols, eating dead animals. We used to make fornication, sever our kinship, bad to our neighbors. The strong among us would devour the wealth of the weak. We were upon this until Allah, the Almighty, sent us a messenger. He's from us. We know his lineage. We know his truthfulness. We know that he's a trustworthy. We know his chastity. He called us to Allah to worship him alone, nothing else, and to shun worshipping all that what our fathers and our great-grandfathers used to worship from the idols and the stones. He commanded us to be truthful and to be trustworthy and to fulfill our trust, to join our kinship, to be good to the neighbors, and to stop violating the inviolables, and to shed blood and make revenge. He forbade us from the fawahish, from the fornication and saying, as well the lyings and devouring the wealth of the orphan, and accusing the chaste women. He commanded us to worship Allah alone, associating nothing in his worship. He commanded us with the prayer, the zakah, the siyam. And he started counting all these pillars of Islam. So we have believed him, and we have followed him for what he had came up with. So we worshipped Allah alone, associating nothing in his worship, and we made haram what he made us haram upon us. We made halal what he made halal for us, and our people, they have transgressed against us, they persecuted us, tortured us, and put us to trials in order to bring us back to the worshipping of the idols instead of worshipping Allah, and to make lawful what we used to make lawful from the khaba'ith. So when we were under this persecution and under this oppression, and they have made, there's a barrier between us and the worshipping of Allah and our religion, we went to your land and we chose you above other kings, beside other kings, and we wanted to be staying in your land, and we hope that we will not be oppressed with you, O Majesty. And Najashi, he says, the king, do you have anything from what the Prophet had came up with, which with Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed? Ja'far, he said yes. And Najashi said, recite. So he started reciting the beginning of Surah Maryam, Kafha ya Ain Sad. So Salama, she said, and Najashi, by Allah, he cried until he had drenched his beard, and also his bishops. They have as well cried, and their tears had wetted their scrolls. Until, and that is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals, when some of the Christians, as soon as they hear the verses of Allah, they will what? Have their eyes in tears. Why? Because they are, they know the haqq, they know the truth. تفيض عينهم من الدمع مما عرفوا من الحق. طيب. So here, as soon as he heard it, and Najashi said, verily, this and what came to Musa comes from one source. Go ahead. For verily, I will not hand you to your own people, and I will never do so. Salama, she said, when they left, Amr ibn al-As, he said, by Allah, tomorrow I'm gonna tell the king something which is a defect in them, and by which I will uproot them. I will make the king, make sort of to seize them. Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah, she says, and he was the one who was more lenient than the two, than him. He said, don't do that, for verily they are still our relatives, even though they are not on our path, even they differ with us. So he said, no, by Allah, I will tell him tomorrow that they claim that Isa ibn Maryam is a slave. So it was in the morning, following day, O king, as Amr al-As is saying, they saying something regarding Isa, which is a great sign. That means it's so bad. So sent for them to ask them about what they say about Isa. So he sent for them. And the companions confirmed, what should they say to the Prophet regarding Isa alayhi salam? They decided to say what they know about, regardless whom he is. We will tell what the Prophet of Allah told us. When they entered upon the king, he said, what do you say regarding Isa ibn Maryam? Ja'far ibn Abi Taalib, again, is the one who speaks on behalf of the companion. He said, we say what our Prophet told us to say. He is a slave of Allah, His messenger, His spirit, His word, which has been given to Maryam, the Adra, which is the virgin, the chaste, Al-Batul. So Salama, she said, An-Najashi, he had struck the land with his hand, and he took a stick, and he said, verily, Isa does not differ from what you have said by more than the length or the thickness of this stick, by more than the length or the thickness of that little piece of wood. That means Ja'far, he said the truth. And that is when the commanders, they started saying, oh, they don't like it. He said, even you say, oh, doesn't matter. Verily, what they've said is exactly what Isa alayhi salam is. Then he said to the companions of the Prophet of Allah, go into my land, for verily you are protected. And he who insults you, he will be fined. And he will be fined. And he will be fined 3 times, he said it. And verily I don't like to have an amount of gold that is to harm one of you. That means somebody, Ibrahim, you give me gold, to harm you. And then he said to the bishops of his and the commanders, return the gifts to those people. That is to Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah. We have nothing to do with it. By Allah, we did not take from Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not take a bribe from me when He made me a king. Allah gave me this king and make me a king without a bribe. So how can I take a bribe in His sake? So Salama, she said, verily they left and they were disgraced. And we have stayed with him, the best of neighbor, the best of land. A great story. Also we learn from his fight in the battle, in more details in the Battle of Mu'tah. Here, the Battle of Mu'tah, where the Muslims' army were 3,000 facing 200,000. Abu Hurairah, it was the first battle for him to participate in. He says, verily, when the mushrikun came, the Romans, I have seen something I've never seen before. I have seen people, numbers of people, seen dresses, I've seen armors, I've seen shining metal, I've seen gold. And Thabit ibn Aqram, he said, Ya Aba Hurairah, it looks like you've seen a lot of people. He said, yes, by Allah. He said, well, you did not witness with us Badr. For verily, we are not granted the victory because of the number. But in Badr, the ratio was 1 to 3. They were 314, the Muslims against 900 or 1,000. But this is the ratio of 1 to 70. It's much, much more. Definitely, the Battle of Mu'tah is nothing compared with the Battle of Badr in terms of numbers. And Allah says, وَلَقَدْ نَصَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ بِبَدْرٍ وَأَنْتُمْ أَذِلَّ. Allah gave you victory in Badr and you were very small in number. When the army of the 3,000 charged into the army just 200,000, what type of, we say, carriage it was? Subhanallah. The first thing that happened is Zayd ibn Haritha, when he took the stand, he started to fight until he was killed. Then Ja'far ibn Abi Taalib, he took it and he was on his horse and he's fought until he got tired. So he dismounted and he killed his horse. And then he put his standard in his right and his left, or his standard in his left and his sword is in his right. And he started to fight the Romans until someone had hit him on his right, so his right was cut off. So he took the standard with his left, and his left was cut off. So he took the standard with what is remaining of his arms to hold it up. It's important to hold the standard up, because if it goes down, then people will see that it's a defeat. Until he was killed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compensated these two arms with two wings. He flies with them in the Jannah. Prophet Allah said, I've seen Ja'far as an angel. He was flying with his two wings in the Jannah. Abdullah ibn Umar used to call Abdullah ibn Ja'far, you the son of the two-winged man. And that is why Ja'far was labeled the pilot, Ja'far al-Tayyar. And Ja'far ibn Abi Taalib, when he was found in the battle, he was found with lots of stabs and wounds in his chest because he was facing the people. Radiallahu anhu wa ardah. And this is Ja'far for you from the beginning to the end. He died, as I said, in the year 8 after Hijrah in Jumada al-Ula. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah. Then we come to Hudhayfah ibn al-Yamaan. Before I go to, can I have some water, please? Or some tea? I'm missing the tea of uncle. If his uncle is here, there's no tea here. Allah musta'an. How's your uncle? You should really ask. Nobody doesn't miss a class. Right, do you have any question regarding Ja'far ibn Abi Taalib radiallahu anhu? Question regarding him?
You said about Asma, when she married, I think that her son as well, Muhammad.
Just two Muhammads. Muhammad Abu Bakr and Muhammad of Did she give children to Ali ibn Abi Talib? She gave children to Ali ibn Abi Talib, but Muhammad was not the son of Asma. He was the son of Al-Hanafiyyah. There's a son called Muhammad to Ali, but he's from the Hanafiyyah. He's not from her. No. Jazakallah khair.
name your children safe for Allah and such.
Is it allowed to name your children Saifullah? First of all, these are not asma, they are like alqab. Saifullah, Nasiruddin, Nasrullah, all of those names, they've got tazkiyah in them, and plus they're not names, they're like nicknames. So we find the companions, they did not name themselves or their children the names of the Prophet of Allah, had given them a title to Khalid Walid, which is Saifullah, or Asadullah. No companion had named his son Asadullah, who was the uncle of the Prophet of Allah. And we say as well that in this era, for a person to name a person like this is no good as well. Whether already the Muslim being labeled as terrorist, and then you're naming yourself Asadullah or the Sword of Allah, that is no good as well. You will not help our da'wah, inshallah. Now,
Shaving heads of Jafar and Yamaan, did Prophet do it? Is this connected with his death of father, or it was just
is the cutting of the hair of the children of Ja'far and Abi Taalib by the Prophet ﷺ when he called the Baba, is it to do with the death as a sunnah? Definitely it is not. The Prophet of Allah, he would call this is imitating the kuffar or the mushrikeen or the pre-Islamic days, the Jahiliyyah, to make, he said, لَعْنَ اللَّهُ الْحَالِقَ وَالصَّالِقَ, the one who shaves off. And is shaving for the sake of the incident or the death of someone. Now, in these days, it's the other way around. The person who shaves the beard all the time, he let go of his beard as a sign of death. It's like he's, very in very sorrow and grief, and that is how he let his go his beard. Isn't it true? Yeah. He doesn't shave his beard. That means he must have got somebody who died in his family. Allahu musta'an. So the beard now became a sign of grief and sorrow instead of becoming the sign of the sunnah. It is not. But he called the Baba, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It looks like that, the hair was too long. And the Prophet ﷺ, it doesn't say that he balded them. He had shaved. It doesn't say he's bald. And as well to show to the people, which is a very good proof, that it's not a sunnah to put, make your hair long. Because I've seen a number of brothers with their hair long, and they said the Prophet of Allah's hair was up to their shoulder. Prophet of Allah even has had his hair is up to his earlobe. But if you want to have your hair long, you're not supposed to show it in front of the people, and put some as well, like a tie at the back and braid it as a man. You want to put it underneath, like a hat or a top, no problem. But to make it flying like this or standing up, Allah musta'an, and they say that this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, it is not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So know how your hair is long it is under the hat. Now, right, we'll come to the Hudhayfah. Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan radiyallahu anhu Allah. Who is he? He is Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan al-Absi. It's called as Abu Abdullah. He is from the great companions. His father, his name is Hisl or Husayl. And he was nicknamed Al-Yaman because he came into the coalition with the Ansar when they were in Yemen. When he had struck somebody who killed someone. So what he did, when he killed someone, his people, he fled to the Medina. And in there, he had made the coalition with the Medina, so his people called him Al-Yaman. So he is Al-Yaman, he's from Yemen, and he had made coalition with the Ansar. That's where the Al-Yaman comes from. He is صاحب سر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the holder of the secret, the Prophet of Allah. He is the enemy of hypocrisy and hypocrites. He embraced Islam, his father, along with Hudhayfah, his son. And he was killed in the Battle of Uhud. So his father was killed in the Battle of Uhud. And the way he was killed, it was like a friendly fire. Yeah, people, the Muslims, when they started to look at the back, and the back and the front came into the back, they killed his father without knowing. If you remember, Khadway turned from the back, and the shaitan as well screamed, "Ukhrakum," look at them behind. So the Muslims from the front came, so they started, killing one another. So one of them who was killed is Hisl or Husayn, which is the father of Hudhayfah radiallahu anhu. He did not ask for the blood money, but the Prophet of Allah paid his blood money from the House of Treasury. But he did not retaliate for his death because it was an accident. It was not deliberate. Right. He is also from the scholars. For verily, when Alqamah, the great student of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he went to Bilad al-Sham, he came to the masjid and he prayed 2 rak'ah. And he said, "O Lord, grant me someone, a companion to sit with." So he sat beside Abu Darda, a great companion, a great scholar. So he said, "Where are you from?" He said, "From the people of Kufa." So he said to him, "Don't you have in the people of Kufa the Sahib of Sir, the whole of the secret, the one no one knows the Sir except for him?" And he meant Hudhayfah. And then he asked him about Ammar. "Don't you have Ammar?" So it's like telling him, you don't need to come to Sham. You have all these scholars in Kufa. You have Ammar ibn Yasir, you have Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, you have Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhum wa ardahum. He was one day asked by Umar, "Oh Hudhayfah, can you tell me, am I one of those people who are hypocrites from the Prophet I told you about?" Allahu Akbar. Umar is asking Hudhayfah, is he in the list? So Hudhayfah, he said, "No, and I'm not going to give any tazkiyah to anyone else after you. So nobody's going to ask me now, are you there or you're not there? But I'm going to give you." He said, "No, you're not." When Umar ibn Khattab is asking Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, because he's the holder of the secret, Prophet of Allah told him about the names of those hypocrites, including Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, if one of the Muslims died, he would ask, "Did Hudhayfah come to the prayer or not?" Because if he did not, that means he's what? He must be a hypocrite, a munafiq, the one who died. Because he knows the name of the munafiqeen. If he said, yes, he prayed upon him, yes, he prayed on him, then he will pray upon him. He will come and pray. If he did say, "No, we don't think so," he will not pray upon him. Because he's fearing, and maybe he's afraid that he's one of the munafiqeen. And a man asked Hudhayfah, "What is the hypocrisy?" He said, "Verily, to pretend that you're a Muslim, to talk like a Muslim, to talk about Islam, but yet you don't implement it." If it is the case, most of us are hypocrites. Talk about Islam, name yourself as a Muslim, and yet you don't implement it. So he's talking about here النفاق العملي, not النفاق الاعتقادي, not the creed hypocrisy. Hypocrisy in actions. From his as well excellencies, the Prophet ﷺ made a dua for him and his mother for forgiveness. Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, he said, "I have asked my mother." He asked his mother, "When did you know the Prophet ﷺ?" So she said, "From so and so." And then she started to insult me. And so I said, "Leave me. I will come to the Prophet ﷺ and I will pray with him in the Maghrib, and I will not leave him until he would seek forgiveness for you." So why did she insult him? because he was delayed from the Prophet ﷺ. He did not come to him straight away. So I came to the Prophet and I prayed with him in the Maghrib. And the Prophet ﷺ, he prayed until the Isha. Then he looked, then he left, and then I followed him. So a man came to ask him, and then he left. So until I followed him again, so he heard my voice. He heard the clamor behind. Who's this? He said, I said, Hudhayfah, what's happened? So I told him what happened. He said, may Allah forgive for you and for your mother. And the Prophet of Allah, if he'd ask forgiveness for anyone, Allah would respond, because the Prophet's supplication is fulfilled, except for those who are kuffar. Also from his excellency that he was close to the Prophet ﷺ. When we see Hudhayfah bin Yamaan, he says, I have prayed with the Prophet of Allah. He used to say in his ruku', Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, and his sujood, Subhana Rabbi al-A'la. Not a single verse that he would pass by, except that he would stop on it and then he would ask. If it is a punishment, he would seek refuge in Allah. And if it is Jannah or something to ask, he would ask. It shows you how close he was to listen to the Prophet ﷺ. Hudhayfah, he said, Messenger of Allah, I've seen him once, came to the garbage of some people and he started urinating when he was standing up. So he called for water. I came with wudu. I brought him some wudu, that means water, and he wiped over his khuf. He was close to the Prophet ﷺ. Hudhayfah, he said, the Messenger of Allah, he took hold of the muscle of the back of my leg, the muscle, the calf. And he said, this is where the izar limit. This is where the izar limit. But if you want, you could have it all the way up to the ankles. After that, it's not allowed. And Hudhayfah bin Yamaan, he said that the Prophet ﷺ said that if a person goes to the bed, then he puts his hand underneath, his right hand underneath his cheek, he would say, رَبِّ قِنِي عَذَابَكَ يَوْمَ تَبْعَثْ عِبَادَكَ أو تَجْمَعْ عِبَادَكَ. One of them. رَبِّ قِنِي عَذَابَكَ يَوْمَ تَبْعَثْ عِبَادَكَ or تَجْمَعْ عِبَادَكَ. Also Hudhayfah, he says, we were with the Prophet ﷺ. Whenever he calls for food, we come and we will not start until the Prophet of Allah would put his hand and start. One day we came and the food was there. A girl, slave girl, she came, she was like being pushed. So she started putting her hand in the food. Prophet of Allah took hold of her hand. A man was a Bedouin, Arabi. He's like being pushed. He wanted to put his hand in the food. Prophet of Allah took hold of his hand. Prophet of Allah said, verily, the shaitan is making the food lawful for him when the name of Allah is not mentioned. The shaitan brought this girl to make the food is lawful. So I took hold of her hand. And the slave and he brought that man to make the food lawful for him. So I took hold of his hand. By Allah, by the one in whose hand is my soul, the shaitan's hand is along with the two hands, that is the slave and the Bedouin man. It shows you that exactly the same thing we tell the brothers, that if you said Bismillah and you entered the house, Alhamdulillah, but if one of your members of your family entered as well, did not say Bismillah, he will come with him. So if you said in the food Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, but if one member of the family did not say Bismillah and eat with you, then he will make the shaitan eat along. So it had to train all the family to say Bismillah. Also from his virtues and excellencies, he was eager to make sure that he commands the good, enjoin the good and forbid the evil. And he would teach the Muslim the good. For example, Hudhayfah bin Yamaan, he enters the masjid and he saw a man. He does not complete his ruku' nor his sujood. So when the man is left, Hudhayfah said, since when you used to pray this prayer? He said, since 40 years ago. Hudhayfah said, you haven't prayed since 40 years ago. And if you had died, and this is your prayer, you would have died upon other than the fitrah, other than the nature. The fitrah which Muhammad ﷺ, he had made us to die upon it. And then he started teaching him. So, verily, the man used to make his ruku' complete and his sujood is complete. So here we find Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, he had taught the man to, even though that you want to make a light prayer, you have to make your ruku' and your sujood complete. There's no harm for you to make a light prayer by making your recitation not that long, just the Fatiha for example, no problem. But you have to make sure that you have completed your ruku', not to peck like a crow. Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan radiallahu anhu, he said, the man used to talk with the word at the time of the Prophet of Allah, and this word would make him a munafiq, hypocrite. And verily I hear this word from you in one sitting, in one time, more than 4 times. Verily either you enjoin good and forbid evil, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would encompass you with a punishment, or Allah Azza wa Jalla will make the worst of you to lead you, and then your best of you will start to call Allah and there will be no response. Subhanallah. So you have to enjoy good and forbid evil, otherwise Allah Azza wa Jalla will encompass you with a punishment, and He will make the worst of you to lead you, and then the best of you would call Allah, pray upon Allah, then they will not be fulfilled, they will not be responded. Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, he was in Iraq, in Madain, and chief from those Persian, or like he's like a merchant, tajr, and he came to him with a cup which is made of silver. So Hudhayfah took it and he threw it. So he said, and then he said, I did this because I was forbidden. And I also told you off not to do it, and you did not do it. And the Prophet of Allah forbade me to drink in any pot which is made of gold or silver, or put the silk and the dibaj, which is the clothes brocaded with the silk. For verily he said, the Prophet of Allah, it is for them, it is for the kuffar in this dunya, and for us in the hereafter. So this tajr, this merchant, he came with a cup which was made of silver. So Hudhayfah, he took it and threw it. And he said, I did this because I have told you off a number of times, you did not stop. The Prophet of Allah told me that I cannot drink in a pot which is made of gold and silver. Be careful to have your cutleries like the fork, the knives, all of that in any gold or silver. It is haram. His stance, we have a number of it, and I'll finish quickly. In the battle of Ahzab, the Prophet ﷺ, when he dug the trench, and then the kuffar, they couldn't cross the trench, and then the gusting wind came, and the Prophet of Allah doesn't know what happened to the people, to the Quraysh, the enemies on the other side. So he started calling upon the companions, who is going to go and see what happened and gather intelligence, what happened to the enemies on the other side. And the Muslims, they were so scared. Even some of them, they used to say, we can't even go and relieve ourselves. We're so scared. So the Prophet of Allah called, who's going to go? And I guarantee he will be in Jannah. Nobody got up. SubhanAllah, they were so scared. So he said, who can go and gather intelligence and tell us what happened, and I will give him the assurance that he will come back and he will be my companion in Jannah. Nobody got up. So scary. Hudhayfah, he said, verily, then he said, Hudhayfah, stand up. Hudhayfah, he said, well, when you called me, I didn't come. I can't really refuse, can I? I have to fulfill. So I stood up. It's cold, scary. So he said, go ahead and gather intelligence, bring us the news, and don't do anything until you come back. And then he said, I left, and it was so cold, freezing cold. But as soon as I went out to fulfill the mission for the Prophet of Allah, it looks like I was walking into a sauna. MashaAllah, sweating and hot. You call it a sauna or a sauna? Sauna, we call it sauna in Arabic. In a sauna, right, in a sauna. Subhanallah.
Then he said, I went and I got to the other side, and there was no even fire. And I went inside the tent and I could hear Abu Sufyan. He said, oh, people of Quraysh, we can't really stay here, we have to go, but let each person of you know who is his neighbor, who's sitting beside him. We don't know. So Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, he said straight away, I took hold of the one whose mind right or left, and I said to him, who are you? He said, so, son of so. In case he's going to ask me, then I'll be in trouble. Abu Sufyan, he said, oh, people of Quraysh, by Allah, we don't have anywhere to stay here. We should go. For the wind had extinguished the fire, and he had as well toppled our cauldrons, our cooking pans, and it as well demolished our tents. So, and Banu Qurayza, we've heard that they have betrayed as well. So let's go. And they left. Hudhayfah, he said, Wallahi, when he went to mount his camel, and I was there, had the opportunity to go and kill him. He is the leader of the kuffar. But had it been for the word that the Prophet of Allah, he said to me, don't do anything until you come back. So I've given my word. I would have killed him. This is to show that Abu Sufyan, he was saved number of times in order for him to what? To embrace Islam. Hudhayfah radiallahu anhu, when he left, he said, when I went to the Prophet of Allah and I told him what happened to the people, alhamdulillah, the battle was finished. His stance in the battle of Uhud, this is when his father killed. Aisha, she said, when the battle of Uhud took place, the kuffar at the beginning, the mushrikun, they were defeated. His Iblis, he screamed, he said, oh, slaves of Allah, look at your back. So the front came into the back, and they started killing one another. Hudhayfah, he saw his father, and he was a Muslim. So he said, oh, slaves of Allah, it's my father, it's my father. They didn't listen. Allah, he did not leave him. Aisha, she said, until they killed him. Hudhayfah, he said, may Allah forgive for you. May Allah forgive you. Because he knows that he didn't do it deliberately. And when the Prophet ﷺ wanted to pay to Hudhayfah the blood money to his father, Hudhayfah, he said, I have given it as a charity for the Muslims. So the fidya has been given, but he gave it as a charity. Also, his stance in the Battle of Badr, which is the last thing we're going to be talking about, and then, inshallah, next week we'll talk about Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, hadith regarding the end of time. He said, I did not, Hudhayfah ibn Yamaan, witness the Battle of Badr, is that I came out with my father, Suhaib, and the kuffar of Quraysh, he took us. And they said to us, are you migrated to Muhammad? We said, no, we don't want to go to there to them. We want to go to the Medina. So they took upon us a covenant that to go to Medina, but not to join Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not to fight along with him. So when we came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we told him what we have given our word to those people of kuffar, mushrikeen. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, go away, go ahead. We will not make it to participate in the Battle of Badr, and we will fulfill the covenant. Subhanallah. So the Prophet of Allah said, you gave your word, you're not going to fight with me, so you're not going to fight with me. Allahu Musta'an. And this is really shows you, I mean, any army would do such a thing. No way. These people were being caught in the middle by the people of Quraysh that were migrating to the Prophet of Allah. So you migrated to Muhammad. He said, no, we don't want Muhammad, we want the Medina. He said, okay, we'll go to the Medina, but you're not allowed to go and participate in the battle. So they gave the word, they told the Prophet of Allah to fulfill your word. So the Prophet of Allah doesn't know any treachery. Yes, war is based upon deception, but deception is something and treachery is something else. أسأل الله أن ينفعنا بما قد سمعنا وأكرم دعوانا الحمد لله. If you have any questions, please go ahead, and I believe I have extended our class for longer than usually. What is today's place now? It's always shorter than that. Now, فضل.
Regarding when they used to ask for data, if they saw it going to pray on someone, would that mean they'd be true to Yamaan? How would they know if they're praying to pray afterwards?
Say the question again.
You mentioned they would ask whether they were to pray pray on someone, then they will pray.
Yeah.
How would that happen if the prayer is already done? How would they go?
No. Hudhayfah, is he going? I mean, is he there? It's not a second prayer. Did Hudhayfah pray? That means he's asking on the time. So the action is taking place. Dead persists. Is Hudhayfah there? Is he praying there? If he's praying there, he will pray along. If he's not praying there, he will not pray. He will not pray. He's afraid that he's a kafir. He's a munafiq. Nah. Good question. And we don't mind if the person had more than one prayer. If, for example, other people had come to pray upon him. That's no problem. So if, for example, people came to pray upon him, and other people the people prayed upon him, and other people who did not pray upon him, they might offer the prayer either while he's there, before he's buried, or after he's buried in the grave. No problem about that, inshallah. And it's called praying upon the person. For the Prophet ﷺ, he offered even the prayer twice on the people of Uhud. After they were buried, and also later on, and he's like saying farewell to them. And also we see that Hamza radiallahu anhu, he had 70 prayers upon him. So his burial was delayed, but not that delay is not that much. It's not delaying for a day, it's delaying for an hour, 2 hours, for people to pray upon him, no problem. The Prophet of Allah, he delayed the burial of Hamza for, he used to bring companions and pray while Hamza stays spot, doesn't go move. And Hamza stays there. Now, no questions? Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.